Souleyman Bah was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa at the age of 8. A keen athlete, he now has his sights set firmly on participating in the 2020 Paralympics in Tokyo. Souleyman has also recently taken part in a BBC Three documentary called Things Not to Say, and he joins me now. Souleyman, thank you so much for joining us here on RNIB Connect Radio today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Now, you are an incredible young man, I have to say. I've been reading up all about you, and we've got so much to talk about today. I don't know where to start, but I think where we have to start, really, is the fact that you are visually impaired yourself. You have a condition called retinitis pigmentosa. When was this diagnosed?
So it was originally diagnosed when I moved to England at the age of 8, I believe it was. It was quite a funny story, actually. When I was younger, I used to live in Africa, in Guinea, West Africa. And we went to the hospital. My parents said, "We think there's something wrong with his vision. We're not quite sure what it is. Could you tell us?" And so the doctors did a couple of tests. And they were like, "Okay, so we've looked at his eyes and we've come to the conclusion that they don't function properly."
Right, okay.
That was the story. And my parents were like, "Well, could you tell us anything else?" They were like, "No, not really." So then, I moved to England and I got proper diagnosis, and they said, "You've got RP." And then from there, we could say, "Okay, how's that going to affect me? What adaptations do we need to make? How do I need to be helped at school?" So originally it was a tough battle, but after I got the diagnosis, everything was good.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you don't know what you're dealing with until you do get a diagnosis. I mean, for a while when I was losing my sight, I actually thought that I just needed glasses. And it was when black dots appeared that I thought, right, something is wrong here. And then 2 weeks later, I was pretty much blind. So, it is one of those things that until you know what you're dealing with, you don't really know what to do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I, had trouble with as well, because I didn't know what my eye condition was. I didn't know whether I was going to go blind, if it's going to get worse, or is it staying the same. I was on the fence really, and school weren't too sure how to help me. But again, when I came over here and when I got my diagnosis and everything started to fit together, I started having regular hospital appointments, seeing how it's changing. And so it makes you feel comfortable that, someone knows about it and are able to guide you. So with my condition, one of my eyes, which is my right one, I can't see properly. I can't see at all, actually. And with my left one is the dominant one. But even with that one, I can only see through a narrow field of vision in the middle. So things in the periphery, I can make out shapes and I can make out people, but there is no detail at all. The detail is only in the center.
Now, Souleyman, from listening to you, you sound like such a confident young man. You're only 17.
Yeah, I am. I am nearly 18 in January. I am. Thank you very much.
And, a lot of people would say that dealing with that kind of thing at such a young age, would be really, really tough. But you seem to be coping remarkably well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, dealing with a visual impairment is quite tough. There are things in life you can't do. You get excluded from certain activities in school. And, the hardships come early and you have to learn to deal with that, and you have to learn to mature a lot quicker than your peers might do. So that maturity for me came early. And I think, in a sense, it's quite good because it allows me to, I guess, fit into life a bit better, and things that may seem hard in comparison to what I have, my vision impairment, don't seem so hard. So in a way, it's a benefit.
Now, I know that you have been incredibly successful in sport. In fact, in 2015, you won gold at the Paralympic School Games. Tell us about that. That must have been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an amazing experience. And that's another thing as well, with my disability, I was able to, talk to British Paralympics, because ever since a young age, I was very fast on the track, beating most of the sighted people in my school, coming first in sports day. So I was naturally gifted. And the Paralympics was an avenue for me to pursue that. And, they reached out to me and they said, there's a competition coming up. We think you're a good candidate for it. It's in Brazil. And I was so excited for it. I wasn't really expecting, much to come out of it. I said, let's go and have a try at this, do my best. went over to Brazil, did the competitions, and I won the race, won the gold medal, and that was just such an ecstatic feeling and experience. And I think from there is when I kind of realized that I can use this athletics as an avenue, as an opportunity to inspire other visually impaired people. Beforehand, where I saw my disability as a negative thing, something that got in the way, something that prevented me from doing something, finally, this is proof that I can use it as a positive avenue, not just for me, but for other people as well.
And I believe your qualifying time was 11.8 seconds. I mean, that is just incredible. It really is. You need 11.5, though, don't you, to qualify for the actual Paralympics, the kind of older version of the Paralympics. So are you hoping to be at the next one?
Yes, absolutely. That is my next goal. The next one is in Tokyo in 2020. So, it's about training hard. It's about being dedicated. It's about following the rules, eating right, doing everything I need to do to get there.
Do you know something, Suleiman? This is where I wish I had stuck in at sports at school, honestly. I mean, I loved playing tennis and, doing a lot of very visual sports that, to be honest, I haven't bothered with since losing my sight. And that's my fault completely. But, when you look at all these young British athletes going out, Paralympics, it's just incredible. And I really wish I had stuck in at sports.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially for a visually impaired person and blind person yourself, you tend to see sports as something you can't do, but the Paralympics is such an inspiration because you see that you can do this and you can do it at such a high level. I was watching the Paralympics in the summer, like people with one leg doing a high jump, people with no arms or legs swimming. It's like this is crazy, and it's not just about the sport and the competitive nature of it. It's sort of like a massive metaphor for life. It's saying that we have barriers and we have hurdles and we have struggles, but we can do things just like everybody else. So it's such an inspiration. And I think it would have been awesome if you did tennis as well. I could have been with you at the Paralympics.
Oh, do you know something? Well, I'm a little bit older than you, so so I think I would. I don't think I'd even qualify age-wise at the moment. But I have kind of promised a few people that I may take up blind tennis. So you never ever know. We could be meeting up in Tokyo, if not before. But listen, you've just taken part in a BBC Three documentary called "Things Not to Say." How did you get involved?
So I actually got an email from RNIB saying there's this opportunity coming up. The BBC Three have been doing this series called Things Not to Say to X, Y, and Z, autism and other disabilities, and they've gone down quite successfully. And we were thinking of doing one for blind people, and we were wondering if you wanted to take part, to which I quickly replied, yes, I'd love to do it. There's a lot I want to say, and I think there is a lot of misconceptions about vision impairment and blindness in society, and the questions they had were just so relatable. So that is how I got involved. Really, the RNIB reached out to me, and that's how it started.
No, I have to say, I, as a completely blind person, I'm asked questions all the time that don't actually make me angry, Suleiman. Personally, I think as blind people, we're all ambassadors for our disability, and we've got to be careful about how we treat the public. And although sometimes, the general public can get it a bit wrong, I think it is up to us to a certain extent to be able to put them right in a kind way, so it doesn't put them off asking other blind people or other disabled people if they need help. But some of the questions that I get asked are, does my husband put on my makeup for me? Or does my husband dress me in the morning? How do I pick my clothes? Like they magically just jump out the wardrobe at me. So, there are some really funny questions, and they don't particularly frustrate me, I have to say. I think I've only ever been insulted maybe once or twice with questions that are non-repeatable on air. But what are the kind of questions that you get asked?
So mine vary quite a lot, actually. It's like, because my disability is quote unquote an invisible disability, it's quite hard to believe at the start if I don't have my cane. So I tell people, I'm visually impaired, I can't see properly. And they say, no, you're not. You don't even look disabled. You don't even look blind. That's like, how do you even look blind? And then they say things like, okay, then how many fingers am I holding? Which is one that always comes up. If I have my cane, they say, what does your cane do? Does it talk to you? Is it wired to your brain and it helps you see? Just crazy things, like they and also they if they see a guide dog or something, they'll say, "Can a guide dog talk? Does it know where it's going? Has it got superpowers?" Um, Another one as well, like my dreams. Do I dream in sound? So there's just all these questions that they ask, and I think they have a right to ask because there isn't that much information out there for the general public about visual impairment and blindness. They've just got movies and misconceptions to go through, and something like this is an amazing opportunity to finally hear from us, from the people that actually have the disability, to hear the misconceptions and the ridiculous questions people ask us, and to finally put them at rest.
It is very funny. I mean, I don't know if you get this one, but I quite often get people asking me if I want to feel their face. And, it's such a Hollywood kind of misconception that we can tell what somebody looks like. And I don't know about you, but all I can tell is if they've got a beard or a big nose, and that's just the women.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I've never had that personally.
No, I do. I get asked quite a lot if I want to feel people's faces. So it's something that I would never have thought, even as a sighted person, to ask a blind person, "Do you want to feel my face?" I wouldn't want them to ruin my makeup, to be honest.
No, absolutely, and they probably got germs on their hands as well.
So, what else are you up to at the moment? You're still at school and you're training hard. How are you finding school at the moment? How are you finding fitting in all this training with your schoolwork?
I'm not gonna lie, it's very difficult because ever since my success in Brazil last year, my training has gone up. So that's extra days, extra hours, putting in more effort into the athletics. Plus, I'm doing my A levels, which are generally hard anyway. I'm doing four A levels: philosophy, politics, maths, and PE. Very hard. I have a lot of coursework, a lot of essays to hand in. And also another initiative I'm starting, which is promoting the physical, mental, social, and emotional benefits of sports to young people in schools, which is where I go into schools and give talks and things like that. So I have a lot to juggle with, and obviously on top of that, I have my visual impairment. So reading things very difficult, emails, schoolwork, everyday tasks takes me twice as long to do. So the amount of effort I have to put into doing all these things is very hefty. So I have a very busy schedule.
Well, yes, you certainly do have a lot on, but you're so incredibly inspirational, Souleyman. You really are. And it's such a pleasure to talk to you today. And no doubt we shall be hearing all about you in 2020 at the Tokyo Olympics. I can hardly wait. But thank you so much for joining us here on RNIB Connect Radio today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a wonderful pleasure. I've enjoyed talking to you, and let's get the message out there. Let's get people hearing about blind and visual impairment.